This is WT for TST, and tonight we're honoured to be joined by Jordan the Thrill Gill. How are you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. Thank you. How are you?
I wish I was as chilled out as you, mate. You're looking super relaxed.
I'm so chilled that I'm horizontal. I'm ready for bed. I've got my comfy clothes on, chilled out to the max. The lights dimmed, and feet are up.
So where's the lady friend then? No, she's not there now.
The wife's not here. I've sent her away. Need some peace and quiet.
Right, mate. Just to start with on TST, what we like to do first of all is go back to kind of like your upbringing, your childhood. For you, that started in Huntingdon near Peterborough.
Yeah, that's where I was born. 1st of July 1994, a spectacular day. So yeah, I was born in Huntingdon. I was raised in Chatteris, small market town, close by. It's in Fenland, which is famous for being flat, and that's about it. So it's a small place. It's a collection of small villages and towns, and there's not much that goes on there. It's just like a small community, a small farm community. Everyone sort of knows everyone, and it was a nice, quiet place to grow up.
So what was your upbringing like then? You got an older sister, yeah?
Yeah, I've got one sibling. She's the older sister. I think she's 20 months older than me. So yeah, I had a good upbringing. I had loving my mother and father, and I still have. And they say when you've got kids, you got them for life, and that's been the case in my family. So yeah, we've got a good relationship with mom and dad. They brought me up well. I never wanted for anything. We weren't rich. We weren't like poverty stricken. We had to watch the pennies like most people do, but I had a good upbringing, and I had anything I wanted really. Everything I needed.
Yeah, mate, that's what it is, isn't it? That's what we all do for our kids. So school was quite tough for you though, wasn't it?
Not so much. It was, and it wasn't. I think for me, what was tough was doing all my boxing alongside school, because I had to put a lot of effort in to make sure that I got the grades that I knew I could, and perform in the boxing gym the way I knew I could as well. And usually every year the championships would run alongside exam season, so that was tough for me. So I used to be like running before school, and then going to school all day, coming back, doing my homework, going to the boxing gym, coming back, doing like revising or whatever, having food and going to sleep. So it was pretty non-stop.
So your dad was a boxer, that's how you got into it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So when I was about 4 years old, I was a bit of a nuisance at primary school, and I was running around playing kiss chase with the boys and the girls, and they knew something was up then, and they said this kid's got too much energy, and they asked my mum and dad to burn some off. So my mum would take me swimming before school, and my dad, who he run the local amateur boxing club because he was a former amateur boxer himself. He wanted to turn pro, but never really had the opportunity. So he used to train the amateur fighters. So I just went along with him from the age of 4 years old. He just took me to the gym and let me just knock about, watch the older kids. They used to punch me when I walked past them and stuff like that. So yeah, it was. I was always there, always watching, always learning, even without probably being taught anything. I was just there seeing how the older lads did it.
Was that how you ended up in Sheffield, school holidays and stuff with your dad? Was it? Is that right?
Yeah, my dad had some good fighters, a couple of England internationals, and he was looking at a couple of lads that he was looking to turn them pro. So by the time they were sort of between 18 and 21, there was very promising prospects, and he wanted to start bringing them to Sheffield because when my dad was going to turn pro, he was going to turn pro bred in Ingle at the Ingle gym, and basically when my dad wanted to turn pro, he was like 26. He had me and my sister. He had a mortgage in Chatteris. He lived 120 miles up the road. It wasn't really viable. He didn't have a massive following. He wouldn't have sold millions of tickets. He'd been boxing ABA champions on his debut and things like that. So, he's willing to do it, but not at the cost of jeopardizing family life. And, he then decided to pack it in and just become a trainer. So put all his time and effort into that, and the lads that he brought through, he wanted to turn pro, give him the opportunity to turn pro. So he used to bring us up every school holidays or like on a weekend to the Ingle gym. We used to do some sparring and then go back to our gym at home and practice what we learned, and then come back in a few more weeks. And, bit by bit, everybody sort of put it away, whether they went into the army or navy, and then a couple of them went off to university instead, and then one of them went to prison and things like that. So none of them actually ever turned pro. And then before you knew it, like I started going up to the Ingle gym from the age of like 10 years old. I've actually got a picture of me at 11 sparring Kid Galahad, who was 15, which is quite funny to look back on. And so by the time I was 18, I was the only one left, and that was when I turned pro.
So let's rewind a little bit then. So, because you had some amateur career, didn't you? Talk us through your highlights.
I had about 50 or 60 fights, about 58 fights, something like that. I'm not sure. I got every year. So from 11 to 18, I was amateur 7 years. I was in 7 national finals. I won the junior ABAs. I won the NABCs or boys clubs. Boxed for England a couple of times, and I was going to be going to the World Championships. The last amateur fight was the junior ABA final, and then got called up to box for England, and then for the 3 Nations, which I'm confident I would have won, and then I would have gone on. And then they said from that tournament, the 3 Nations against Scotland and Wales, you would have gone to the World Championships, and I turned pro instead.
So you turned pro the same week as you finished your A-levels, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So I always knew like there was going to be a gap from leaving school. I left school at 15, done well in my GCSEs, and I knew I wanted to turn pro then, because I was keen. I was an eager like youngster, and I knew you had to be 18 unless it was going to take me over to Ireland to do it. I knew you had to be 18, so I had to fill some time. So, the natural step for me was to go and do my A-level. So I did my A-levels, I did A-level in government politics,
wow,
psychology, sports, things like that. So the Wednesday morning was my last exam. In the afternoon, I was on the train with bags packed to Sheffield, and I think I had my pro debut about 3 weeks later. Or 2 weeks later. I was 18 years old on the 1st of July. I had my pro debut on the 7th of July.
Saturday the 7th of July on the Brook Carson Jones undercard. So would you say that Sheffield's like your second home then, yeah?
Yeah, I think it is now, yeah. So
you're 18, right? You're, Brook's there, massive draw for Sheffield. You're on your debut, you're 18. What's that feel like?
I don't know. I didn't really think about it. I just sort of took it in my stride at the time. Looking back, I can imagine that a lot of people would have been maybe going, and everyone always says, "Oh, weren't you nervous for your first fight?" And I was like, "No, I'm not. I weren't nervous, because I didn't know what to expect. I could probably count on my hand how many professional boxing shows I'd ever been to at that point, because there's not professional boxing in my area. That's why I turned pro in Sheffield. I went all the way to Sheffield to do it. So I didn't know what to expect. So how can you be nervous for something that you don't know what to expect? I was nervous for my second and third and fourth and fifth fight, but your first one, you just take it in your stride. I was just green. I was young, 18-year-old kid, and you don't know what to expect, and you just got in and done the job. Boxed Christian Late, who who's had however many fights, a million fights, and he's a tough guy, and he moved me around, I moved him around, and it was a good time had by all.
So we're going to fast forward here quite a bit, because the next 17 you go relatively let's say easy, because you'll have had some, you'll have some tests within some of them, but relatively straightforward. So you become 18-0. And probably looking back, would you step up the opposition a bit quicker than what you did?
Yeah, I would have wanted to step up after 5 fights, because for me, I didn't learn anything in them fights. Like what I learned in the last 12 of those 17 fights, I learned in the first 5. So um, I don't understand. Like for me, I've just felt like I was being strung along, and I don't understand why I wasn't stepped up. I just thought, these fights are pointless, because what you learn, you just padding your record, and it's not what I want to do. It's not the way I wanted to build my career. But at the time I was young, it was out of my control. I just turned up to the gym and said yes. I never ducked a fight. Never said, "Oh no, I want to fight this guy. I want to fight that guy." I was just like, I'll just do what you tell me to do, and I don't know really how it works. So just give me the fight. All I thought was, if I keep winning, then I'll get an opportunity, and the opportunities were never coming really.
Oh, you're back.
Hello.
Oh, you went a bit funny there, mate.
Oh no.
So then you moved. I think I missed some of that, but then you moved to Dave Coldwell shortly after that, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that why? Because you felt, I think you said you felt it like stunted almost. And as a young fighter, do you never have any say at all? You just literally, right? Okay, I'm here. I'm fighting him, so I'm fighting him. Or
Yeah.
is that?
Well, I didn't have any say in my career. That was the way it was for me. I don't know if it's different for other people, but I didn't have any fantastic deal when I turned pro. I fought who they told me to fight. I was sort of under control a little bit, and yeah, I wanted to. I would have stepped up after 5 fights, like I said. And I feel like even now that's hindering my career, because I've got this fantastic record, 25 wins, but really I've only beaten probably 6 or 7 good fighters. So it's like, it's frustrating for me, because that decreases your value almost. But you learn, you live and you learn, you move on. And I went to Dave, and all I said, I knocked on the door. I just said, went in. I said, look, I need an opportunity. All I want is an opportunity. I've seen what you do with your fighters. You're a good trainer. I've been up and sparred Gavin McDonnell for his fight when he first boxed for the WBC world title. I was one of his sparring partners for that. And I had a fight coming up at the same sort of time, which was cancelled. And I was like a live float on the first ITV pay-per-view show. I had my gloves on for 7 hours. I never ended up boxing after selling like 10,000 tickets. And, I was messing about big time that night. Big time. They actually took my opponent and give it to Kid Galahad because his opponent dropped out. So I was sort of robbed of a fight there. And it's not acceptable. So I went to Dave. I said, look, I need an opportunity. All I want is an opportunity. If I don't come to you, then I'm done with boxing. And he said, look, we'll get you a couple of fights to shake the rust off, because at that point I'd not boxed for 18 months. They've kept me inactive, keep dangling the carrot in front of me, saying, yeah, we'll get you this fight, we'll get you this fight. So I was in the gym, training. Nothing was ever happening for 18 months. I was out of the ring. So within 2 weeks of being with Dave, he got me a fight, and I boxed half decent kid at the time, Jordan Ellison, to come back, and I stopped him in 2 rounds. Then within another 2 or 3 weeks, Dave got me another fight, and then after that, that was like cobwebs are brushed off, and then right, we can go into some real fights now. And that was, for me, mouth-watering, because there was opportunities that I was being relishing. As in, my first sort of step up was Jason Cunningham. I went from doing my most rounds I've ever done was 6 rounds against sort of like journeyman or just above journeyman level, to fighting a 2-time Commonwealth champion over 10 rounds. I'd never even sparred 10 rounds before that. So,
Wow.
it was a steep learning curve, but one that I welcomed.
Would you say your best win or the best fight that you displayed was Ryan Doyle?
I think at the time, at that time, but I don't think now.
Yeah.
At that time, yeah, when I boxed Doyle, that was probably my most accomplished performance at that time. But I think when I boxed in Peterborough, considering all the pressure that was on me, and I know that I made the kid look nothing special, but he weren't. He was a good fighter. He's a strong fighter as well. And then also the Blotty fight. He's a very similar level to Doyle, but and I know I stopped Doyle and I didn't stop Bellotti, but stylistically, I made it a very easy night, in my opinion. So I think I've progressed in the last year, probably more than I have done in the previous 10 years. So I'm looking forward to stepping up and showing improvements again.
So we'll just nip back a little bit. So you won the Commonwealth in 2018. Then you went for the vacant WBA International. That's the one in Peterborough, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Talk us through that one, though, because I think, we talked about your second home, Sheffield. Now you're going home. You're in Peterborough, your hometown. You talked about selling thousands of tickets before, and now you're going for WBA International. Where's your head at?
It was awesome. I was loving it. I was walking onto the pitch, Peterborough United, with my Commonwealth belt, and everyone was like, "Yes, come on, let's get boxing back at Peterborough." And I was like, "Come on, buy some tickets." And I think in the first weekend I sold like 500 tickets, and I was just thinking, right, this is my opportunity to show people what I can do, and I did, and it was surreal to think from where I'd been like a low, very low point where, like I say, if I didn't go to Dave, then I wouldn't be boxing now. I would have just, thought I'll get a job or go to university or something like that. So, to go from that to that was awesome. And I loved every second of it. And ever since that night, it's been my goal to get back there.
You talked about your low point before. Which was lower? The fight that came after, and I know we know the circumstances around that in terms of you worked well and stuff. Which did you fall back to where you were about 18 months when you were out, or not? In your head, I mean.
I think it's hard. It's completely different for me. I don't know. Sometimes it's worse to have had something and had it taken away. So maybe it was worse, but I just remember it was bad. And especially for me, because I wanted to right that wrong, so I wanted that sort of immediate rematch, and it never sort of come. Because I know I can beat that guy, and it's frustrating for me because I'll probably never get the opportunity to do it now. But yeah, it was a low point, but I know that I made a lot of mistakes in that ring, regardless of how I felt, and regardless of all the things that went wrong leading up to it, and me being ill and stuff like that. In that ring, I think, feeling as bad as I felt, I still could have won that fight, because really, like, up until the stoppage, it was still a nip and tuck. They basically, the commentary said, if he wins the next 2 or 3 rounds, whatever it was, then it could be a draw, or he might just nick it. You don't know. And that was with like 2 knockdowns. I'm like, I know I can beat that guy, but I was trading wide. I was meeting fire with fire. I'd never physically felt like that. I'd never been in that situation where things weren't going right, or weren't feeling the way I should, or I didn't have that resilience that I normally do. So if you've never been in that situation before, then how do you know like what to do in that situation? And now, knowing now, if I knew then what I know now, I would have kept tight. I would have tucked up. I wouldn't have met fire with fire. I would have nullified. I would have done this. I would have done that. And that's experience of been in them situations. So I think at the end of my career, when I look back, it will be a blessing in disguise. But still now, it bugs me. But I'm probably one or 2 fights away from being in a better position than I was then. So it will come good.
Patience, mate, isn't it?
Yeah,
something like that anyway, which is hard to say to a boxer because none of you are patient. But then you found Italy, yeah? You went to Italy on the next one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a comeback fight, 6th round. It's the only thing that was available. We come up. They said, "Oh, we can take that to Italy." And get a comeback fight. So I went under the radar, but it was a good experience. The first time I boxed abroad as a pro, and it was a nice little trip. Enjoyed it. We had a good weekend, a whole week really. It was it was cool. So I got a good little win. Practice what we've been working on in the gym, righted some wrongs, and sort of showed that my game was a bit sharper, a bit more well-rounded. Um, boxed well that night, and then it was meant to. And then when I come back, I thought, right, straight off that in September, I want to bounce into a big fight in December. And then I was hit with my illness that struck me last year, which was, another kick in the teeth.
You got to have some luck soon, haven't you?
Thought so, wouldn't you? You'd have thought
so. So that illness again, at times you thought you might not box again, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was going to the gym and I was just tired, and I didn't know. Hello?
Yeah, you're back, mate. I think you're just frozen. Yeah, that's it.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back now, mate. Yeah. You go to the gym and you're dead tired.
Oh, you got me. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry. I was going. I was going to the gym. I was dead tired. When I train, I wear a heart rate monitor to keep an eye on my calories and like zones and stuff. So my heart rate went through the roof, and I'd never seen anything like it. It wasn't normal. One second, I'm just gonna.
Right, I think we've just rescued the Wi-Fi, mate. Picking back up.
I'm 4Ging it off my phone at the moment. That's how bad the Wi-Fi is in my gaff. Yeah, last year when I had my thyroid issues, it was a bit of a nightmare because I was going to the gym, didn't know what was up with me. When my heart rate monitor, my heart was through the roof. I was getting like chest pains. I was like fat, but my weight was low. So like all these different signs, I thought I didn't know what was up. So now I was going to the gym. I did 10-round sparring one day, and my heart rate was going over like 220 beats per minute, and staying there for like the whole 10 rounds. So I went and got a blood test, and they said that my thyroid is through the roof. So they diagnosed me with like incorrectly. So I went private, and they basically diagnosed with a disease called subacute painless thyroiditis, which is like a autoimmune disease. So there's a lot of autoimmune diseases like what you call it, celiac disease and things like that. So it's just one of the things, and basically the thyroid gland flared up because it had a lot of toxins in it, and then it's attacked itself. It's gone way high, and it's dipped underactive, and then eventually it leveled out. But for a point, like I didn't know whether I'd actually be allowed to box again because I didn't know whether I'd be on different medication, this and that. So it was a shit time. I was like, I had big bags under my eyes. Like my health was seriously affected, and didn't feel myself at all. So that ruled me out of a December fight. I finally got back a date in March to fight 20th of March at the O2. So I was gearing up for that, and then like a week before, Boris called national lockdown, and I was just thinking, this isn't meant for me. This is not the way I imagined it going at all.
So you've got to be mentally strong though, because some of the stuff you've been through, to then be still here now going, and then we'll go into the Bellotti fight in a second, but to go, right, I'm still there, I'm still want this, and the dream hasn't changed, I guess.
Yeah, I think I set a goal when I turned pro, and I've not reached it yet. So I'm a stayer. I'll just stick at it until I reach my goal. But I'd be lying if I said there weren't points where I thought, what am I doing with my life? I'm taking myself away from my family. I've got a wife at home. I'm in Sheffield 5 days a week. I can't. I'm alone in a room now by myself. It's freezing cold. Um, you know, I'm training my ass off. I'm eating spinach, and tired and hungry all the time, and there's no reward. So you don't mind doing those things if you're getting the rewards and you're reaching your goals. But when the goals aren't being reached and you're not getting the reward, you start to think, what am I doing it for? And little things like that, some people would see them as signs, to say, it's not meant for you. So I've stuck it out, and now we'll see what this year brings. But I think, like you said, I'm due some good luck.
Definitely, mate. So just to finish up, then fight camp arrives. So that was at the time probably all the pundits were pick 'em 50-50. There was I think you had some set twos with a few. Well, definitely one pundit that was saying that Bellotti would beat you. Were you just confident you were always going to beat him?
Yeah, I couldn't see a way. Well, I could see a way that he'd beat me, but I just knew that it wouldn't happen. I thought, I don't know. I just think I can't see anyone at domestic level to be beating me. I think he's a good domestic level fighter, but I know that I'm above that level. So it is what it is. I've boxed orders. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't do anything special. Everyone said it was a 50-50 fight before the fight. And, I made the 50-50 fight look like I was fighting a gentleman, really. No disrespect to him, but I thought I won 9 out of 10 rounds. And most people that are looking at it probably did. So to go into a 50-50 and do that, I think I proved a lot of people wrong, and prove myself that I am above that level, because no one's beaten that convincingly the way that I did.
Well, they were making so much of the body shot before, though, weren't they?
Yeah, but I expect it, because obviously after the Tinoco fight, I know how bad I was in that fight. But people always say, "Oh, you weren't ill," or this and that, and it doesn't matter, because I got stopped with a body shot. So people are always going to question my body. So the way I see it is, if you think that I'm weak to the body, then keep throwing to the body. And Bellotti did. He landed a few good body shots, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm still here. I am resilient. I got that resilience back now. I feel strong today. So you're in trouble. And he was on the night. So I think I proved people wrong that night. But even then, people will say, "Oh yeah, but Bellotti didn't set up the body shots." So going into my next fight, then they'll say, "Yeah, we're going to knock him out of body shots." So more for them, in my opinion. I don't really care what people say. I don't care what people say about me. It's just a case of, I've just got to be what they put in front of me.
Keep eating spinach.
Yeah.
Right, mate. We'll finish up with a couple of questions from the followers. Sometimes they're weird. Yours are okay, to be fair. So first one, I'll read it as it's wrote from here. Marty wants to know, since you live in the middle, or where you were brought up, why Peterborough and not Cambridge United?
Peterborough United, yeah. The reason why is because out of all my friends that are football supporters, majority of them go and support Peterborough United. I have actually been to watch Cambridge United as well when I was younger, but the first ever football game I went to, I was about 9 or 10 years old, and it was actually Peterborough United. So it's like, that was the first one that I went to when I was like, when you get to the age like 13, 14, you're allowed out for the day with your mates, like to a different city. Obviously, you're allowed out earlier, but we got used to get the train to Peterborough when I was like 13 and go to Peterborough United for the day, and it'd be like a big day out because there's a KFC over the road, and it'd just be a good day out. So I think that was the reason for me. And they're doing well. They've got some good players. They've got a good fan base, and I just like going and watch them. And if I go out for the day, like if I go to a shop, I'll usually go to Peterborough instead of Cambridge anyway.
Fair enough. Answered nicely. Trendy. Saying the shops. Trendy. This is a deep one, mate. What is the standout moment in your life so far?
Standout moment.
You're going to have to say getting married, mate, aren't you?
That was good. That was good. That was such a good day. But I think for me, probably headlining in Peterborough, because it all happened so quick, and it was like it didn't fit. It was so surreal. So that was a big moment for me. Headlining in Peterborough, Sky Sports, Saturday night fight night, winning a good belt against tough Mexican, and doing it in fashion, selling all those tickets, and it like created a buzz, and it was good. I'd love to get back to Peterborough and winning more belts there.
I'm sure you will, mate. MJ wants to know, it's not about you, this one, actually. There's been a lot of talk of Brook versus Khan over the years, and it seems to have resurfaced again. If it ever happens, what's your verdict?
No one cares anymore. It was a good fight about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe even longer, probably 10 years ago now. But yeah, they've been talking about it forever. But I always said the same thing. I think Kel punches too hard and he's too accurate not to land on Khan over 12 rounds. And that's always what I've said. I think if Kel hits Khan on the chin, then he's going to go, because, he does go. And even if he didn't have a bad chin, if Kell Brook hits you on the chin, then you're going to know about it. So he is too accurate and punches too hard not to land on him and knock him out over the distance, over 36 minutes of boxing.
Right. That's it. Apart from one last question from me, which I ask everybody. It's the most important thing I've probably asked you all day or this interview. What are your top 3 chocolate bars?
Oof. Tell you what, number 1 for me. This is probably, I don't know if it's controversial or not, but have you ever had a Star Bar?
They're in my top 3. That's my number 2, mate.
It's like a boost with nuts.
Mate, I love Star Bars. Number 2.
Star Bars are amazing. Right. Second for me is Cadbury's fruit and nut.
Good old classic.
Love a fruit and nut.
Yeah.
And third is hard. It's a toss up between a picnic but that picnic's quite similar to a fruit and nut, isn't it? So I'm gonna go with Snickers. I'll go with Snickers.
Do you not like Bueno?
Kinder Buenos are good, but I feel like it's more like a wafer than a chocolate bar. It's not like there's no solid chocolate on those. It's like a wafer with a cream filling, and it's like the tiniest film of chocolate over the top with a few shitty things sprinkled on. And I can appreciate them, but it's got no weight to it. There's no chocolate weight, so it's like, and it's not really portable, because if you put it in your pocket, it's getting crushed, and then when you open it, it's crumbling out anyway. So say you've got 60 calories in the thing, then by the time you actually entered it and shit's crumbled out, then you've got about 20 calories left, and it's not good to eat. So if you get a solid block of chocolate, it's reliable. When in the Snap, when Boris the Blade is describing the gun, and he's like, "This is heavy. This is reliable."
Yeah.
This is the Snickers is dense. It's made to last.
Boris the Blade. That is a right film.
Boris the Bullet Dodger.
Oh, man, you've just explained that. Wow, I didn't expect that, mate. Right, that's it. That's it. Anything for the viewers or your sponsors, mate, before we finish?
Yeah, thanks for all your support. Everyone that's supported me through my whole career, or if you just joined Team Gill, then we love you all, and hopefully we get some big fight news soon, and we can entertain his fans.
Jordan Gill, thank you very much for your time. We'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate.